you're a go-getter. Who has an idea?
And it happens to be a pretty good one, too.
So you share it with your team, and they're all in. So you get to work. You plan, and you plan, and you plan. And most projects never make it past this point.
I'll be honest with you, I'm stressed because in 5 days we launched the first episode of Behind the Screens.
And you haven't started yet.
It's not that I haven't started, I just haven't figured it out.
You have an idea in your head, Kyle and Natalie, what you want it to be, but you're not so much sure. But I think the bigger picture is that I don't think anybody's ever sure of anything that's creative. Like, you're creating something, so there wasn't something there before. So just go and do it, and then we'll iterate off of it. If you go back to the Impact show, it's the exact same thing that I think that Bob and Nick went through was,
we had an idea and we wrote down basically what our strategy was, and like, this sounds great, so let's just go with it. And when we did like one dry run, it was awful. Did the first episode, it was okay. It wasn't the best. Episode 2 was a lot better than episode 1. Episode 3 was better. By the time we got to 10 or 12, we really hit our stride. And now here we are, episode 20, and we're like, all right, rethinking the whole thing. It's the same thing with any kind of project. Until you draw that line in the sand and say, we are going live on this date, whether it's done or not. So you might as well get as close to done as you possibly can. Not gonna be perfect, but at least it's gonna be live. That's the big milestone.
Yeah.
stop talking about it. Go do it. The green light's on. The jump master just smacked you on the behind and said, go. Get out the door. The parachute's gonna open and you're gonna land safely. And that's what I would say the takeaway is.
And then no matter what, just get it done. And if you really hate the entire process and you're like, man, this is so rushed and I'm not really proud of it, you can either iterate it or revert or do something else, right? But at least you got to launch. Most things that fail is because they don't get to launch.
They never get to that step.
Yeah.
So having that conversation with Bob and Chris really got me thinking. If I were to have to repeat to someone how we were able to get to this point, launching this first episode, what would be the major takeaways or the steps that I would recommend that they take in order to get there? So I was able to boil it down to 3 things that we did that if we had skipped these steps, I'm not sure we would have actually ended up launching this show. Step number 1 was setting a finite goal. When I pitched this project to Bob, the first thing he came back to me and said was, yes, go for it. I trust you, but you need to set a very clear goal. So for us, that's a certain number of YouTube subscribers. That's something that we're really interested in, is growing our reach. And for me, in order to take that a step further, I needed to create a discipline upon that goal that would get us to that goal step by step. So step number 2 is creating a discipline. And for us, the discipline was we were going to create 8 episodes, 1 a week, starting November 1st, and launch one every single Wednesday morning. Having that discipline in place allows us to not think about, okay, how do I get right to my end goal? But instead, like, what is the one thing that I need to accomplish? Like, there's no way I could think so far out to conquer the goal of getting thousands of YouTube subscribers. But what I can think of is checking off this first episode, which brings me to number 3, which is something we've been talking about this entire episode, and that's just taking a leap of faith. At a certain point, you have to stop planning and you really have to put yourself out there, which I'm about to do, and share with people what you've been thinking. I'm so excited, but I'm genuinely really nervous because the only way that this is going to get better is for people to come back to me and say, hey, this was, I really enjoyed this, but have you thought about not doing that? Or have you thought about doing this differently? Or they're gonna ask me to do something that puts me into another uncomfortable situation. But genuinely, that's how we grow. So the third step is really constantly taking the leap and putting yourself into an uncomfortable situation. With all that said, I am really excited to share with you what we have planned for the rest of this series. So sit back, maybe make some popcorn, and enjoy the intro to Behind the Screens.
I don't care. Hey, so I'm heading into HubSpot right now. Say hello.
Hello.
No, I got it.
All right. So we want to invite you to join us weekly as we go behind the scenes to look at the human side of growing a business.
If you enjoyed this episode, we are back next Wednesday with another. So be sure to hit the subscribe button below and help other people find this video by hitting like and sharing. We made it.
Thanks,
Episode
guys.
1's over. All right, I think that's a winner.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, between...